This is the cash flow pattern of an asset. The top part of the diagram is an income statement, often called a profit and loss statement. It measures income and expenses, money in and money out. The lower part of the diagram is a balance sheet. It's called that because it's supposed to balance asset against liability. Many financial novices do not know the relationship between income statement and the balance sheet, and it is vital to understand that relationship. So, as I said earlier, my rich dad simply told two young boys that asset puts money in your pocket. Nice, simple, and usable. This is the cash flow quadrant or the cash flow pattern of a liability. Now that assets and liabilities have been defined through pictures, it may be easier to understand my definition in words. An asset is something that puts money in my pocket, and a liability is something that takes money out of my pocket. This is really all you need to know. If you want to be rich, simply spend your life buying assets. If you want to be poor or middle class, spend your life buying liabilities. Literacy. If illiteracy, both in words and numbers, is the foundation of financial struggle. If people are having difficulties financially, there is something that they don't understand, either in words or numbers. The rich are rich because they are more literate in different areas. That people who struggle financially. If you want to be rich and maintain your wealth, it's important to be financially literate in words as well as numbers. The arrow in the diagram represent the flow of cash or cash flow. Numbers alone mean little, just as words out of a context means little. It's a story that counts. In financial reporting, reading numbers is looking for a plot. The number the of stories of where the cash is flowing. In 80% of most families, the financial story paints a picture of hard work to get ahead. However, this effort is for naught because they spend their lives buying liabilities instead of assets. This is the cash flow pattern of a poor person, and this is the cash flow pattern of a person in the middle class. This is the cash flow pattern of a person in a rich. All these diagrams are obviously oversimplified. Everyone has simple living expenses, the need for food, shelter, and clothing. The diagrams show the flow of cash through a poor, middle class, and a wealthy man's life. It is the cash flow that tells the story of how a person handles their money. The reason I started with the story of the richest men in America is to illustrate the flaw in believing that money will solve all the problems. That is why I cringe whenever I hear people ask me how to get rich quicker or where they should start. I often hear I'm in debt, so I need to make more money. But more money will often not solve the problem. In fact, it may compound the problem. Money often makes you obvious our tragic human flaws, putting a spotlight on what we don't know. That is why, all too often, a person who comes into a sudden windfall of cash, let's say an inheritance, a pay raise, or lottery win, soon returns to the same financial mess, if not worse, than the person they were in before. Money only accentuates the cash flow pattern running in your head. If your pattern is to spend everything you get, most likely an increase in money or cash will just result in an increase in spending. Thus, the saying, a fool and his money is one big party. I have said many times that we go to school to gain scholastic and professional skills, both of which are important. We learn to make money with our professional skills. In the 1960s, When I was in high school, if someone did well academically, people assumed this bright student would go on to be a medical doctor because it was a profession with the promise of the greatest financial rewards. Today, doctors face financial challenges. I couldn't wish on my worst enemy, insurance companies taking control of the business managed healthcare, government interventions, and malpractice suits. Today, kids want to be famous athletes, movie stars, rock stars, beauty queens, or CEOs because that is where the fame, money, and prestige are. That's the reason it's so hard to motivate kids in school today. They know that professional success is no longer solely linked to academic success as it once was, because students leave school without financial skills. Millions of educated people pursue their profession successfully but later find themselves struggling financially. They work harder but don't get ahead. What is missing from their education is not how to make money but how to manage money. It's called financial aptitude. What you do with the money once you make it, how to keep people from taking it from you, how to keep it longer, and how to make that money work hard for you. Most people don't understand why they struggle financially because they don't understand cash flow. A person can be highly educated, professionally successful, and financially illiterate. These people often work harder than they need to because they learned how to work hard but not how to save their money work hard for them, how to have the money work hard for them. How the quest for a financial dream turns into a financial nightmare. The classic story of hardworking people has a set pattern. A recently married, the happy, highly educated young couple moves into one of their cramped rented apartments. Immediately they realize that they are saving money because two can live as cheaply as one. The problem is the apartment is cramped. They decide to save money to buy their dream home so they can have kids. They now have two incomes. They begin to focus on their career. Their income begins to increase. As the income goes up, the expenses goes up. The number one expense for most people is taxes. Many people think it's income tax, but for most Americans, their highest tax is social security. As an employee, it appears as if the Social Security tax combined with the Medicaid tax rate is roughly 7.5%, but it's really 15% since the employer must match the Social Security amount. In essence, it is money that employer can't pay you. On top of that, you still have to pay income tax on the amount deducted from your wages from Security tax, income you never received because it was directly to the social security through withholding. Going back to the young couple, as a result of their income increasing, they decide to buy the house of their dreams. Once in their house, they have a new tax called property tax. Then they buy a new car, new furniture, and a new appliance to match their new house. All of a sudden, they wake up and their liabilities column full of mortgage and credit card debts. Their liabilities goes up. They're now trapped in the rat race. Pretty soon, a baby comes along and they work harder. Their process repeat itself. Higher incomes cause higher taxes, also called bracket creep. A credit card comes in the mail. They use it and max it out. A loan company calls and says their greatest asset, their home, has appreciated in value because their credit is so good. The company offers a bill consolidation loan and tells them the intelligent thing to do is clear off the highest interest consumer debt by paying off the credit card. And besides, interest on their home is a tax deduction. They go for it and pay those high interest credit cards. They breathe a sigh of relief. Their credit cards are paid off, and they have now folded their consumer debt into their home mortgage. Their payments goes down because they extend their debt over 30 years. Is a smart thing to do. Their neighbor calls to invite them to go shopping. The Memorial Day is on sale. They promise themselves they'll just window shop, but they take a credit card just in case. I run into this young couple all the time. Their name changes, but the financial dilemma is the same. They come to one of my talk to hear what have to say. They ask me, "Can you tell us how to make more money?" They don't understand that their problem or trouble is really how they choose to spend the money they do have is caused by financial illiteracy and not understanding the difference between an asset and a liability. More money seldom solves someone's money problems. Intelligence solves money problems. There is a saying a friend of mine says over and over to people in debt: if you find you have dug yourself into a hole, stop digging. As a child, my dad often told us that the Japanese were aware of three powers: the power of sword, the power of the jewel, and the mirror. The sword symbolizes the power of weapons. America has spent trillions of dollars of weapon, and because of this, is a powerful military presence in the world. The jewel symbolizes the power of money. There is some degree of truth to the saying. Remember the golden rule: he who has the gold makes the rule. The mirror symbolizes the power of self knowledge. This self knowledge, according to Japanese legend, was the most treasured of the three. All too often, the poor and the middle class allow the power of money to control them by simply getting up and working harder, failing to ask themselves if what they do makes sense. They shoot themselves in the foot as they leave for work every morning. By not fully understanding money, the vast majority of people allows its awesome power to control them. If they used the power of the mirror, they would have asked themselves, does this make sense? All too often, instead of trusting their inner wisdom, their genius inside, most people follow the crowd. They do things because everybody else does them. They conform rather than question. Often they mindlessly repeat what they have been told. Diversify. Your home is an asset. Your home is your biggest investment. You get a tax break from going into a greatest debt. Get a safe job. Don't make mistake. Don't take risk. It is said that the fear of public speaking is a fear greater than death for most people. According to psychiatrists, the fear of public speaking is caused by the fear of ostracism, the fear of standing out, the fear of criticism, the fear of ridicule, and the fear of being an outcast. The fear of being different prevents most people from seeking new ways to solve their problems. And that is why my educated dad said the Japanese valued the power of mirror the most, for it is only when we look into it that we find truth. Fear is the main reason that people say play it safe. That goes for anything, be it sports, relationship, career, or money. Is the same fear, the fear of ostracism, that causes people to conform to and not question commonly accepted opinions or popular trends. Your home is an asset. Get a bill consolidation loan and get out of your debt. Work harder, it's a promotion. Someday I will be a vice president. Save money when I get a raise. I'll buy a bigger house. Mutual funds are safe. Many financial problems are caused by trying to keep up with the Joneses. Occasionally, We all need to look in the mirror and be true to our inner wisdom rather than our fear. By the time Mike and I were 16 years old, we began to have problems in school. We were not bad kids, we just began to separate from the crowd. We worked for Mike's dad after school and on weekends. Mike and I often spent hours after work just sitting at a table with his dad while he held meetings with his bankers, attorneys, accountants, brokers, investors, managers, and employees. Here was a man who had left school at 13, who was now directing, instructing, ordering, and asking questions of educated people. They came at his beck and call and cringed when he didn't approve of them. Here was a man who had not gone along with the crowd. He was a man who did his own thinking and detested the words, "We have to do this way because that's the way everyone else do it." He also hated the word can't. If you wanted him to do something, just say, "I don't think you can do it." Mike and I learned more settings in on his meeting than we did in all our years of school, college included. Mike's dad was not a book smart, but he was financially educated and successful as a result. He told us over and over again, an intelligent person hires people who are more intelligent than him. So Mike and I had the benefit of spending hours listening to and learning from intelligent people. But because of this, Mike and I couldn't go along with the standard dogma our teacher preached, and that caused problems. When the teacher said, "If you don't get good grades, you won't do well in the real world," Mike and I just raised our eyebrow when we were told to follow set procedures and not deviate from the rules. We could see how school discouraged creativity. We started to understand why our rich dad told us that schools were designed to produce good employees instead of employers. Occasionally, Mike or I would ask our teacher how what we wanted, what we studied, was applicable to the real world, or why we never study money, or how it worked. To the latter question, we often got the answer that money was not important, that if we excelled in our education, the money would follow. The more we knew about the power of money, the more distant we grew from our teachers and our classmates.